previous verse 542 pointed out that there is an emancipation which is independent of people's strivings. In other words, no matter what you do, no matter what your intention, enlightenment is something that happens independent of that. It happens independently of your intentions. It happens independently of what you do. The trouble with the idea of enlightenment, as far as the idea is concerned, we think of enlightenment as something that either somebody achieves or it's something that happens to somebody. There's always this person in the picture to whom enlightenment happens. So the question which you would quite naturally ask, say for example, of Guru Gillies here, is, are you enlightened? But these two words, you and enlightenment, do not go together. The last few verses have been stressing the non-existence of beings. It's this realization which is enlightenment, the non-existence of beings. Everything follows from this. But if you insist on enlightenment being something that you can reach, well, it's going to keep you away from enlightenment. I think a better word than enlightenment is awakening. You wake up. When you wake up in the morning after a good night's sleep, it's not because of any special effort that you've made or any special intention. It's something that happens, it's natural. The thing is, you probably don't appreciate it unless you've had some particularly disturbing dreams. You probably don't think twice about waking up. You just get on with it. So in enlightenment practice, and this is what I would describe myself as, an enlightenment practitioner, in enlightenment practice you actually start appreciating this wakefulness. So there has to be an awakening, an initial awakening. And this can happen at any time, in any circumstance. But there are special teachings which are concerned with giving you a poke. Enlightenment, awakening, isn't about leading you up some garden path. It's about giving you a poke. A poke in the eye. With the intention that you might wake up. And once you wake up, once you've had that initial awakening, it's very easy to fall back to sleep again. It's quite natural to fall back asleep. But then we can stir ourselves. As enlightenment practitioners, we can bestir ourselves once more to awakening. Anyway, the point here is that the notions of enlightenment, of somebody becoming enlightenment, reinforce notions of beings, notions of independent entities, as do the idea of karma and the defilements which were covered in previous verses. And this theme is continued in the next verse. Verse 543. If beings are non-existent to you, How can there be any distinction between the wise and the ignorant? It seems like Muhammad might be asking this question of the Buddha, but I think it's a rhetorical question asked by the Buddha. So how can there be any distinction between the wise and the ignorant? Well, let me just finish the verse. Nor will there be anything characterising the wise who are disciplining themselves for the triple emancipation. I'm on a few mailing lists. I don't know whether it was an associated one or not, but one mailing that I received recently was to do with a particular teacher holding satsangs. And there was a picture of this teacher. It was a really good picture, just a head picture. Very handsome fellow, nice light in his eyes. And I can imagine people looking at this thinking, yes, this person has got it. I'll go to his satsang. And I think maybe this is my problem. I wonder why more people don't tune into these videos. I know quite a lot of spiritual people, very, very lovely people, but they don't seem the least bit interested in my videos. Maybe they just take a look at me and think, I'm not exactly a shining example of a realized being. I should be aglow, surely I should be aglow. Well, I think I am sometimes, but maybe it's just not consistent enough. People see that I have problems. My life, although I think it's pretty good. I've got it sorted in quite a lot of ways. I'm not exactly exuding vibrancy. And yet, I feel these teachings are so important. I feel the teachings in these videos are so important. Just how important they are, I think I'm a little bit wary about saying, actually. Because they don't come from this being. This is why I can speak highly of these videos, because they're nothing to do with me as a being. So I'm simply reflecting these teachings, these amazing teachings. I read them, I read the verses, they resonate within me, and they have to be communicated. They have to come out. They bypass me as a person. My name is Bill Gillis. I call myself Guru Gillis, or somebody else called me that, but I went with it just because it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But these teachings are not about me. But they certainly impact on me. Some people have really managed to connect with these videos and what's coming across. Perhaps they don't quite get the full message or the full impact of them, but they're picking up on something. But it's nothing to do with me personally. They're tuning into the teachings. And it's good that they're not tuning into me personally. I'd rather see us all as fellow voyagers. And I'm only doing these videos partly because it's what I do, but also nobody else seems to be communicating this. There are a number of very good teachers that we might describe as enlightened. Nobody's really presenting the ancient wisdom in this way as directly relevant to our lives and the basic assumptions that we operate on, to the point that we must challenge the existence of independent beings, separate beings. Getting back to the verse, how can there be any distinction between the wise and the ignorant? Well, all I can say in my case, there isn't. We must focus on the teachings. And there's nothing characterising the wise who are disciplining themselves for the triple emancipation. This is emancipation from the triple world. I do these teachings, but at the same time I'm getting on with my life. These teachings impact on me, the impact on my life, in the sense that I think I would have just had a complete meltdown without them. They're my rock. There's a battle going on. There's a battle going on. It's like in a battle you need to plant your flag on the hill which is in the thick of the enemy territory, and with awakening you actually plant that flag, but then once you've done that, a whole new dimension unfolds, and you must keep protecting that flag. So there's a battle going on, and these videos are in some sense missives from the battlefront. So I'm not coasting in some blissful enlightenment. I'm hanging on to this flag, being assailed from all corners. And I think this is how it is. This is how it is. I'm sure I could have some very good satsangs if I wanted to set myself up as a teacher who runs satsangs. I could have a very blissful satsang experience. I might still do that at some point. There hasn't been any call for it, so I don't do it. But yes, I'm sure I could get a very nice professional portrait of myself, advertise satsangs, and the satsang's got its own format, very nice format. People could come along to it and ask me questions. It'd be a lovely experience. I'm sure it would. But it wouldn't be quite honest. The spiritual journey is a struggle. And I don't want to present the image of some accomplished guru figure. There are plenty of other people doing that. You know, people that you can fall in love with if that's your inclination. I'm somebody who knows what it's like. I've been a seeker. Then there was an awakening event in my life. And the result of that was clarity. I could see what was going on. I could see what these scriptures were about. The ancient wisdom texts that I've been covering in this channel. I could see what it was about. But with that clarity, I could see the extent of the dysfunctionality of my personal psychology. And how dysfunctional it is. And this, I don't think it was necessarily worse than anybody else's, but you always think somehow your own psychology is the pits worse than anybody else's. But it's pretty bad. It's a pretty bad picture. It's like once you've planted this flag on the battle hill, the enemy forces erupt with greater strength. This stuff wells up, if you like, from your subconscious. Initially, there is a lovely, blissful phase you go through because you've had this awakening, and it can last for quite a while. I remember having a smile on my face for quite a while after that initial awakening, no matter what circumstance I was in. I can't remember how long it lasted for, but it did fall away. And as I said, the battle hordes were in array, lined up to smash me down. But I kept clinging to the flag. Well, not always. Sometimes you get swept away. Sometimes you get swept away terribly. But you keep coming back. You don't give up. Everything is lost if you give up. There's no point if you give up. You can always come back, no matter how bad things have become, how unworthy you might feel. You can always come back. So, this is the wise who are disciplining themselves for the triple emancipation. There's nothing to characterize them from anybody else that's struggling through life. And the motto here is, never mind the whys, get on with it, focus on the teachings. Never mind falling in love with some guru, you can do without that distraction. But perhaps that's what you need, maybe temporarily. It's up to you. But it is a distraction ultimately.